I have recently converted this delivery van into a tiny home on wheels. And in this video, I'm going to show you the full build from start to finish. This is a VW Crafter 4Motion. It's a 2022 plate, long wheelbase, high roof, so there's plenty of room inside for our growing family. The first thing we did was tape out our planned layout. We also used VanSpace 3D. This is a really good way of visualizing your plans. Now it's time to get to work. We eagerly removed the bulkhead and made a start stripping out the plywood panels from the van. We're going to hold on to these because they might come in handy later when we're lining the walls. I removed the tie-down points out of the floor. Next we needed to remove the floor. This was actually really difficult because there's a really sticky patch of glue down the middle of the van holding it in, but we finally got there. Again, we're going to hold on to this as we're going to use it for a template for our floor later in the build. We removed the glue with a heat gun and gave the van a really good deep clean. We were lucky the van had been really well looked after, so there wasn't that much rust to treat. There were just a few little spots, and anywhere there was a scratch, we repainted just to be extra safe. We removed the double seat because we're going to replace it with a single seat later. We also fitted a drop-down handbrake mechanism. Then we were able to fit an Audio swivel seat mechanism to the driver's seat. And that's it, the first thing we actually fitted to the van. We have a working swivel seat. The next job was a visit to Fabworks to get our rock and roll bed installed. These guys are local to us and the seats have ISOFIX, which is perfect for our little kids. This then folds down to make one of our beds. We then headed to Mule Vans to get our roof rack fitted. This will make mounting all of the things to our roof like solar panels so much easier. Back in the van and Ginny is cracking on with sound deadening. We're using Dodomat Hex, which is lightweight, and we're just slapping one sheet on each large panel. Then it's on to our first layer of insulation and we're using 15mm Dodomat Thermoliner on pretty much every surface we can get it. This is just stage one of our insulation. We also fully sound deadened and thermolined our wheel arches. Now it's on to the subfloor. We have cut and bonded roofing battens to the floor of the van. We then use PIR insulation board to fill in the gaps. We wanted the van to be super well insulated as we plan on doing winter camping and even a trip to the Arctic Circle. The next step was to use aluminium foil tape to tape up all of the joints. This then creates a vapour barrier and a waterproof barrier for the floor. Now it's time to cut out our floor. We're using the old floor as a template and we're just using 12mm plywood for the new floor just to save a little bit of weight. Another important job on any van build is to seal up your trim holes. I did this just by buying some rubber bungs that fit over the clips and then replacing the trims back on the van. Next, I managed to rope in one of our friends to help me lay the flooring. For our flooring we used Altro flooring, which is really durable and really hard wearing, really good for a van build. The next job was the bike tray. I needed to build this so that I could work out the height of our bed. It was really important that we could carry a couple of mountain bikes in the back of the van. I used extruded aluminium and heavy duty runners to build the bike tray. We then test fitted it and measured how high the bikes would be so we had our final height. Now it's on to the first of the scary jobs and drilling holes in the van. The first job was to install the max air fans. First of all, I created a wooden frame. Then we marked out and cut a hole in the van. This was really scary, but once you've done one, it gets a lot easier. There's detailed videos on each stage of the build process, so hit that subscribe button and check out the playlist. I'll put a link in the description. Another job I was dreading was removing the overcab lining, but I needed to do this for two reasons. The first was to insulate it, and the second was to fit our overcab shelf. So in goes some sound deadening, in goes some thermoliner, and in goes some Dodo fleece, and that is the insulation complete. Then it was just a case of fitting the brackets and installing the overcab shelf. Now we're on to building the bed. For this we're using the IKEA bed hack. I start off by fitting some riv nuts to the side of the van and then using a piece of plywood to extend the height of the bed. Then go on the brackets and the IKEA beams, and then a quick test fit with the bikes to make sure everything's going to fit. Finally, I cut out our mattress base, drill some holes in it for ventilation, and the bed is complete.
Super.
The next big job was the shower room. Now the bed at the rear was in and the rock and roll bed was in, I knew what space we had left for our shower room. So it was time to cut the walls and fit them to the van. I'm just using a pocket hole joint jig here. These things were amazing. I really recommend getting one. They hide away your joints and they're super easy to use and super quick.
You know when the calling's calling.
Once the walls were in, everything was screwed and bolted to the van, it was time to cut another hole in the van, and this time it was the shower room window. And primed. Quick water test and we are all good, no leaks. And there we go. Does it fit? More holes in the van and we are cutting the first of our double glazed safari style windows in the van. First of all, I made another wooden frame, then I cut out the hole and then I bonded the wooden frame to the inside of the van. Once that's in place, I can bond and screw the safari style window to the frame. One down, two more of those safari style windows to go. Quick leak test and we're all good. Now it's time to install our fresh water tank. For this we are going with a 100 litre overarch water tank. Again, this is so that the van can be fully winterized. Before I do the final fit of the water tank, I do finish the insulation and I also ply line and finish with some 4-way stretch suede fabric. Another hole in the van, and this time it is the Max Air dome fan for the shower room. This went in quite easily because I'd already fitted 2 Max Air fans, so I was kind of in the swing of it by this point. But anything with silicone can get a little bit messy and it's always worth taking your time. Now it's time to tackle the kitchen. I'm using lightweight furniture ply and I'm having a go at building it all myself from scratch. 1, 2, 3 end panels are now in position. I have to template and test cut each panel out of scrap wood just to make sure they fit correctly. It's now a race against time. You might be able to see Ginny's tummy sneaking into shot there. That's because we're expecting a new baby. The last stage is to cut and fit the doors for the kitchen cupboards, and then I'm on to thinking about the diesel heater. Running the pipework for the diesel heater through the kitchen so that we get heat all the way through the van. It's now on to the part of the build that I was dreading the most, the electrics. I start off by building myself an electrical cupboard. I'm then able to complete a lot of the first fix electrical and the electrical system inside my garage. My biggest piece of advice here is getting somebody to help with your electrical plan. We actually got somebody to do a complete plan and supply all of our electrical components for us. So for us, it was just a case of following the instructions. The aim here was just to fit all of the components to the electrical cupboard, ready for wiring. The electrical system consists of 660 amp hours of power, and we've also got a multiplus 2 inverter. We've also got 500 watts of solar panels going on the roof. This is because we're a fully electric van, we haven't got gas, and we want to be off-grid as much as possible. I really took my time with the wiring, double, triple checking every wire was going to the correct place and was the correct thickness and gauge. Then it was on to running all of the first fix cables in the van itself. This one here is running from the leisure battery through to the van battery. That way we can charge when we're on the go.
Fully wired up. The last thing to do is the 240 stuff.
This was really scary, moving the electrical cabinet into the van. I just didn't estimate how heavy this was going to be. But with a pregnant Ginny, we managed to do it. Then we needed to run more cables to where we were going to have our control panel, and it was finally time to test the system.
That is on. And that is wired up. We've got power. We've got power in the van. Yes!
The next job was to fit our diesel heater. We've got a 4 kilowatt auto term diesel heater, and I just needed to get a little bit of help with this because I wasn't very confident getting into the diesel tank. Once the diesel heater was installed, I could crack on fitting all of the ducting for the diesel heater along with our Bobel hot water hybrid system. So this system heats the hot water through the diesel heater. Another day and another hole in the van. This time we're fitting the last of our safari style windows, one either side, opposite each other. I've drilled so many holes in the van now, I'm starting to feel slightly confident when doing these windows. It just goes to show, if you're willing to have a crack at it, watch a few YouTube videos, read some instructions, anything is possible. Now we're on to the plumbing section of the van. The Bobel system is installed so we can start running all of our plumbing pipes to the kitchen sink and to the shower room. I'm just using 12mm John Guest push fit fittings. These are actually quite easy to do. One little tip I would give though is make sure you use the little plastic inserts that help to prevent leaks when the pipes expand during temperature changes. Then we're on to fitting the level sensor to the fresh water tank. And finally wiring up the Bobel hot water system. Now it's time to fit our oak worktop. I start off by making a template and then transferring that template onto my oak and using a router to cut it out.
Look at that. There we go.
I then put on a couple of coats of Osmo oil to seal the worktops. This stuff comes highly recommended, and so far we haven't had any problems. I have recoated the worktops twice since we've built the van just to be extra safe and make sure we don't get any staining on the worktops.
Oh, flip up worktop 1 and 2.
In goes the tap and the IKEA sink that we got. This is actually a normal domestic sink, so it's nice and deep, really good for washing up whilst you're in the van. And I also made myself an insert to create a worktop on top of the sink as well.
Ta-da!
Our next job is to fit the solar panels. Because of the roof rack that we already had fitted, these just simply bolt straight down onto the unistrut cross members, and it all needs wiring up. Now comes the big wire up. I've installed a second 12 volt fuse board in the kitchen area, and there's one also in the electrical cupboard. It's now time to start wiring everything in, all of the USB sockets, all of the lights, and I've wired it all to this electrical command center in the kitchen. This means all the controls for the heating, for the diesel heater, for the water heater, for the batteries is all in one place.
We've got lights! Yes!
To really turn our van into an adventure van, I installed an aux beam light switch. This controls additional lights that I fitted to the bonnet and also onto the roof rack, as well as some rock lights underneath. It was actually freezing cold when I was installing this, but once they were in, it was time to test. It was all snowy, so testing the lights in these conditions was perfect because this is exactly what we designed it for. It was back to mule for a rear wheel carrier. We needed this so we could fit a waste tank where the previous wheel was mounted under the van. And then we're on to fitting our VANDERMOON moon organisers to the back doors. These things are amazing, I can't recommend them enough. They totally transform your back doors and create loads of storage. The van is really coming together now. We've now got power, lights, heating, water, and it's time to crack on with the shower room. I've run a heating pipe and water pipes into the shower room, and onto a job that I really took my time to work out how I was going to do this, and this was framing in the window in the shower room. In the end, a simple wooden frame with some sani clad wrapped around the inside and then siliconed into place has done the trick. I then ply lined the final wall and the ceiling. I used a palm router to cut out the window, and boy was I relieved when this turned out okay.
Look at the state of it! YouTube magic!
I waterproofed all the plywood and sealed all the joints. Then it was time to bond the stainless steel shower tray down. Then I created some templates and started cutting out and bonding on the SaniClad panels. These are waterproof panels and perfect for a wet room. It was a race against time to get the panels on before the glue set. Then it's time to silicone all the joints, and hey presto, we have got ourselves a watertight shower room. This is so satisfying removing the tape. Now it's time to build a sink unit. I'm just using the lightweight ply again. This was really tricky because the side of the van is curved and you have to scribe everything so it matches that curve of the van. Cue little man to help me do the plumbing. I did tell him not to touch the pipe, but he couldn't resist. I really enjoyed getting him involved in the build. I bonded the sink and the sink unit in place,
and then hooked all the plumbing up.
Yes!
A few more finishing touches from IKEA and the shower room was complete. It came out much better than we thought it was going to. Really pleased with it. For our toilet, we're using a Trillino composting toilet, and we have found it to be amazing since. Now it's time to fit our waste water tank. We've got a 68 litre water tank, and this is going where the old spare wheel used to go under the van. Next, I connected up all the waste pipes, but I found out that we needed a waste pump because it just wasn't draining into the waste tank. So then I installed that.
It auto shuts.
And I installed an electric valve on the waste tank so that we could dump the waste with the flick of a switch from inside the cab.
Definitely working.
Yeah! Now it's time for the final push, and we are mounting these moon boxes from VANDERMOON, and also we're mounting L-track to the ceiling and walls to mount them on. I used riv nuts every 20 centimeters to secure the L-track to the van. This meant it was nice and secure and could take the weight of the overhead lockers. And they're in. These moon boxes have been absolutely fantastic in terms of storage for our van. We really rate them. I'll put a link in the description and a discount code if you want to grab yourself anything from VANDERMOON. We're nearly finished. Now it's time to line the walls. First of all, I start off by templating each section and also filling in any areas where I need to add insulation. I transfer my templates to 6mm plywood and cut those out ready for a test fit. Then I suede line them and they're ready for installing into the van. To secure them in place, I just use a few bolts, and then the L-track traps them in position as well. It's exactly the same process for the bedroom ceiling. For the kitchen splashback, I just use some Saniclad and a vinyl wrap. And then it's on to finishing the living area. First I finish the insulation by adding some Dodo fleece. Then I finish up wiring in all the lights and USB sockets. And then finally I ply line and use a faux leather liner this time, so it's a bit more durable. Lastly, I finish the roof by adding insulation and ply lining again. I decided to dechrome all of the trim by masking it up and spraying it matte black. If you've got any questions about how I've done anything on the build, just drop me a comment. And the van is finally complete. I can't quite believe it. It's been a real labour of love.
And that's it, the van is complete. This van means so much more to me than just a van. Not only did I massively challenge myself, learn loads of new skills, and put together a van way beyond the quality that I thought I could have done, but we also took the van up to the Arctic Circle as soon as it was finished. I was literally still finishing bits off the morning we left. And we had the most amazing first adventure in our van, and we can't wait to see what other adventures we'll have. If you want to see a full tour of the van, click here, and if you want to see a detailed video on all the different parts of the van build, I'll put a link to the playlist here. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this adventure, and we will see you in the next one.